think he'll do?
I think he'll stay in Cleveland.
Okay.
The city of Cleveland needs to be, in a crazy kind of way, immediately after losing the NBA Finals. You all need to thank your heavenly stars in certain respects that the Cleveland Cavaliers lost these NBA Finals. Because had they won, then LeBron would have fulfilled his promise to this city. And then he would have been free to do whatever he wanted to do without having any kind of guilty conscience about it whatsoever.
Quick point. A lot of these folks might say we would take one championship with losing LeBron.
And then say
right?
adios.
Is that possible?
I
don't know.
I don't know.
Would you take it?
You got a half and half. What do you guys think over there? Yeah. Okay.
I'm just telling you that that's the mentality. The fact that he's lost gives the impression that there's still unfinished business. He is expected to opt out. He has a player contract on a $21.5 million deal. He is expected to opt out, re-up for 2 years with a 1 year out after next season as well, which will enable him to continue to get the max, because he and his agent Rich Paul have made it very, very clear he's the best player in the world. He's never accepting less than the max again. And the primary reason for it is because, remember, he's now a VP with the Players Association under his guy Chris Paul, because only Chris Paul could have got him to play that role, because he wasn't willing to do it without Chris Paul's leadership. You have to understand that they believe from a bigger perspective that it sets a bad precedent for the best player in the world to accept less, because when you do that, then you're setting the stage for others to do so, and that's simply not what they want you to do. With that being said, I say all of that in terms of probability. I don't say it definitively as if it can't go awry. And here's where it gets interesting. And I'm sure our editor Chuck is listening.
Where's Chuck? Chuck nearby. There's Chuck.
Pins and needles.
Chuck is right here. It's okay.
So let me make sure that I'm clear.
Yeah.
I'm always careful. No,
Yes.
not always. Most of the time. Most of the time.
Yes.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. LeBron, in all probability, is staying. But if David Griffin, the general manager, and owner Dan Gilbert don't heed his words or his signs, and thereby take him, dare I say, for granted, like, you're not going anywhere, we're going to do what we want to do, and we don't really have to listen to you, you're a player, you're under contract, deal with it. If you give off that kind of attitude and don't do the kind of things that LeBron deems beneficial to himself and this franchise moving forward, then he reserves the right to change his mind. And then all of a sudden, the Lakers become a very interesting proposition since they have cap room. And the New York Knicks, with one of his best friends in the world, Carmelo Anthony, becomes a viable option as well. And don't rule out that possibility by any stretch of the imagination. Don't think for 1 second Carmelo wouldn't beg him to come to New York. He's already been doing it. Don't think for 1 second that the Lakers wouldn't want him to come to L.A. to let him know that beyond the Kobe era, this is yours, because next year is the last year for Kobe, and he gets along with Kobe, and they all have mad respect for the black Mamba. Again, I want to emphasize, I don't think that's going to happen, because I don't find David Griffin to be a stupid man. I think he's done a good job as the general manager. But where all of this comes in, we don't know if LeBron wants Blatt. We don't know how much LeBron is going to be willing to say to the organization about changes that he wants made. We don't know how they're going to react to it, because David Griffin supports Blatt and Gilbert supports Griffin. And how that's going to weigh in terms of them communicating and coinciding with LeBron all makes for very interesting chatter in the next few weeks. And I'm talking about anywhere within the next 3 weeks to a month. We're going to know all the answers to these questions. So all of that stuff is what could potentially be going on right now. I would venture to say he's going to stay. There's no way on earth he's going to leave, because he lost. A championship still has not arrived in Cleveland and Northeast Ohio. And I think he's sensitive to that. But don't for 1 second think that David Griffin and Dan Gilbert can take that for granted the way you and I may very well do so. Because LeBron is about his business, and LeBron is about doing things his way. And he will not tolerate this organization taking him for granted. He will walk unless they capitulate. The question is, how forthcoming is he going to be
Yep.
about exactly what he wants them to capitulate to? I hope, Chuck, that I explained that thoroughly.
I thought it was
safely
beautiful.
Were you
enough.
okay? I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chuck says okay. You
Yeah.
accept that? You have to
I'm
fight
gonna
for
give it a
that.
hand.
That was wonderful.
Well, thank you very much.
I think it passed muster.
I
Thank
did,
you
it
very
does.
much. Well,
Okay.
I appreciate
Yes.
y'all co-signing.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
I'm so touched by y'all approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Your thought, my sir.
I am fascinated by all those scenarios. I'm fascinated by LeBron's next decision this offseason. Our Brian Windhorst, who's covered him since LeBron was like a toddler, I think,
Yes.
here,
Yeah.
has described his offseason sort of persona and stance as passive-aggressive in the past when it comes to management decisions, that he sort of stays off in the wings but asserts some sort of subtle control. And yet, this is just me. I was shocked that LeBron decided to come home. I'm very happy for all these folks here that he did come home, but he did so in spite of an owner who I thought had nuked that bridge with what he posted on the Cavs website that night after LeBron made the decision and left took his talents to South Beach.
That's right.
And yet, there was an uneasy truce that was called between Dan Gilbert and LeBron James. It felt like, and you know this better than I do, but from a distance, it felt like they just coexisted this year without a whole lot of crossover, not a whole lot of communication between them.
Not necessary, because
Yeah.
LeBron didn't come back to Cleveland for him.
He did
came
not.
back to Cleveland for the fans, for the city, for the area, and his family and friends. He
I
did not
agree.
come back. He came back in spite of Dan
In
Gilbert,
spite
not
of.
because of.
I'm with you. So now, we have some flashpoints looming. We have, as you point out, a David Blatt, a favorite of both Gilbert and the GM David Griffin. I don't know what LeBron thinks. He did, we brought this up yesterday, he did go out of his way, what was it, a couple, 3 weeks ago, to defend or at least stand behind David Blatt publicly. But as you point out, he's always going to do that at that point in the season, especially with the finals in high gear. Just me, my guess is that LeBron would not want David Blatt to come back next year. That's just my gut feeling from a distance, okay?
He would prefer a coach with NBA experience, and he would not mind Mark Jackson at all.
I hear you. And that would be position A. That's perfect. Okay? What if Dan Gilbert digs in, to your point, and says, no, David Blatt earned the right with the finals appearance to come back at least for year 2. What if they dig in because they're Kevin Love fans? What if they decide, we've got to max out Kevin Love? And it could start to threaten whether you could keep Tristan Thompson, who's a LeBron, not only a protege, but he's represented by LeBron's agency in Rich Paul. Okay? So you've got 2 huge flashpoints in which LeBron can assert himself. I'm hoping LeBron goes right at this, that he doesn't stay off in the wings, that he makes it clear right from the start, if it is this way, I don't want the coach, or I don't want Kevin Love, or whatever the issue is, he should put it on the table immediately. He can opt out by June 30th, I believe is the date.
The one thing I want to add, a couple of things actually I want to add is this. I totally agree with you. I think LeBron needs to be assertive. But in fairness, I don't want to just put the name Mark Jackson out there, because we all know he should be coaching somewhere. Tyronn Lue deserves a lot of credit, because he is somebody, and the reason why it's rare.
I would agree.
Well, the reason why it's rare, and I don't like mentioning Tyronn Lue, and here's why. Because the belief is, by some, they've tried anytime you mention an assistant coach, it gives the impression that the head coach is being undermined. And under no circumstances has Tyronn Lue ever done something like that. That's not his MO. That's not who he is. Larry, Drew, Phil Handy, all of those guys, they don't operate that way. They've been incredibly supportive of David Blatt, at least in my presence.
Sure.
But the fact is, league-wide, because of the pedigree of coaching under Doc Rivers and what we've seen Tyronn Lue do, combined with the mistake that Blatt made against Chicago, where he almost called the timeout and cost them a playoff game, and Tyronn Lue ended up grabbing him. The impression is that Tyronn Lue is the brains behind the proverbial coaching throne, per se. So when you look at him and you look at how LeBron communicates with him during games, and you juxtapose that to how he communicates with Blatt, it is clear, at least visibly, that LeBron harbors more respect for a Tyronn Lue than he does for a David Blatt. So whether it's a Mark Jackson, it's a Tyronn Lue, it's somebody. I don't know what LeBron is going to do, but if he feels the need that a change is necessary, he does need to be assertive about it, because here's where things are getting really interesting with LeBron. We have this mentality because we see his greatness that he's still going this way. That's actually not true.
Yeah.
He's going this way up here. Physically, he's not. He's tailed off a little bit. Even with his elevation, his speed, his quickness, you don't see the same stuff that you saw because Father Time is undefeated. It hasn't not kicked in the door yet, but this is his 12th year. And I remember David Griffin saying to me, the general manager for the Cleveland Cavaliers at the beginning of the season, we're all in. There's a window here. We don't have forever. This guy is not in his 3rd year in the league. We have to take advantage of these moments, which is why they were going for it. So when you take that into consideration, you got to think about love or no love, because you know LeBron wants to keep Tristan Thompson.
You got that right.
He does not. Excuse me. He does not, under any circumstances, want to lose Tristan Thompson. But also keep this in mind. Outside of the Warrior fan base, there's nobody happier today than Pat Riley, because Pat Riley didn't want LeBron to win. Let's be clear, okay? Well, guess what? You got that Dwayne Wade thing going on.
You got it.
And don't think for one second that LeBron is not going to sit there and say, if we can get Dwayne Wade, we damn well better get Dwayne Wade. So all of these things are well, that's assuming it doesn't work out with Miami, because let's face reality, D-Wade don't want to leave South Beach. Just built a mansion there, hoping he's trying to stay in South Beach.
Just quick point of order. Last night he did maybe slip up on ABC, and Dwayne spoke in the past tense of his heat.
Well, he's very frustrated. He's very frustrated, very disgusted. But I know we got to go. But the point is that Dwayne Wade, they're going to want him. LeBron and the Cavs are going to have to be on the same page, because if they're divided, these are the kind of things that could lead to him saying, you know what, hell with y'all. I'm out. Again.
You mentioned David Blatt. Actually, Blatt's 53 wins were the best for any first-year coach in Cavs franchise history.
Doesn't count.
Also, Saturday marks his 1-year anniversary. His future obviously still in doubt. We will talk about that coming up a little later on in the show. I see a few Warrior fans here. You guys over there are something amazing. I'm glad that the Warrior fans are here. When we come back, we'll talk about the best team all season long. They end with a chip. On the other side of the break, will they get the credit that they deserve? That is the discussion in just a few moments. First take on the road for the NBA Finals. Back in a moment.
On the Hook is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here.
Three chicken tenders, taters, and gravy. I threw in